The haze blocking out the morning sky was the color of infectious decay. The weak sun, faint behind the fetid smog, was an omen. Of what? Zeke couldn't tell. Mask secure and seals checked. Ezekiel, Zeke Rankin, self-appointed scout, let himself out through the airlock to the cool, damp morning air. The silent alien city extended endlessly. What used to be a thriving ecumenopolis had been turned into a graveyard. Continent-sized chunks of the city had been flattened, while others stood with no visible damage beyond the poisoned sky. The mission, including Zeke's family, had set up in a hospital in one of those undamaged sections. His mother came. To help any survivors and care for the other volunteers, his sister came to help clean up the chemical weapons fallout. At 15 years of age, Zeke wasn't given much choice. He climbed down the access ladder to the tunnels beneath the city. A nearby area had lost power, and he was determined to find the hospital's power source before it sputtered to a stop as well. Aside from 3 doctors at the hospital, all the aliens Zeke had seen had been dead. He'd come across hundreds, if not 1,000, so far. Conventional wisdom said there were likely no other survivors that hadn't been evacuated from the planet, which made the sound in the tunnel more concerning. He thought about giving up the search for the day. The thought of his mother treating the volunteers who'd been exposed, and his sister in her lightweight flyer piercing through the smog itself. To test various neutralizers in the atmosphere firmed his resolve. "Hello?" he called out. He continued on toward the sound he'd heard. He turned the corner and felt something hard against his ribs. He didn't speak much of the alien's language, but enough to understand the words "stop" and "alien." He raised his hands to show them empty. In his best attempt at their language, broken and halting, he said, "Good morning, my name's Zeke. Mission, me, here, today." The alien switched to interstellar trade language. At least it was a required subject in school, and he was almost as proficient as he was in English. "Where did you come from? You are not the aliens that attacked us? What are you?" "I'm human, from the Sol Federation. I'm here with my mother and sister who are helping with the recovery mission." He cleared his throat. "Sorry I messed up your language. My name is Zeke. What's yours?" "A brief." The hard object was removed from his ribs, and the bearer stepped in front of him. In the dim lights, at a distance, it would be easy to mistake the alien for a tall, slender person with a long tail. Zeke caught his thoughts and corrected them. "That is a person, and I'm the alien here." The hard thing that had been pressed against his ribs turned on. It was a torch. In the wash of light, the creature, person, holding it, had gray-blue skin with a disheveled mane of muddy orange that began between its eyes and lengthened at the crest of its head. He knew that the mane continued down the center of the back to join in the fur on the tail. The mane said male, but the coloration said female, at least as far as Zeke knew. Abref's nostril slits flared, then relaxed. "You've been on the surface," Zeke nodded. "I have. Is the air in here safe?" "It is. For my kind, at least." "What do you aliens breathe?" "Oxygen. Same as you." He lifted the mask off, and the smell of something rotting hit him like a wall. "What is that smell?" "The farm. You get used to it." "I'll take your word for it. Sorry, but I have to ask. Are you male or female?" Zeke was about to apologize for his rudeness, but Abref stopped him. "I'm a manned female." "Never. Seen one? You're pretty new here, huh?" "We've been here for 18 local days," he said. "How long have you been surviving down here? Why didn't you evacuate?" "Those of us at the farm closed up tight when the sirens went off the first time," she said. "That was 61 days ago. Some of us braved the surface to evacuate, but with the reports of bombardment, the rest of us decided to stay put." "The city right above you is still untouched," Zeke said, "except for the poison. The mission is set up in the hospital." "How are you set for food up there?" she asked. "We've got emergency rations for about 90 days, with more coming whenever the next supply run happens." "Any fresh food?" "Nothing like that. Follow me." She walked off without waiting for him. The torch provided something to follow in the dim tunnels that often turned completely dark as they went further from the main utility access. The farm was a well-lit chamber the size of which would embarrass a stadium. Water flowed in from one side, trickled through fields the size of football pitches, and out the other side to continue on somewhere. Those fields were rich with what could best be described as mutant mushrooms with different fruits and vegetables sprouting from the same base mycelium. Half a dozen others worked fields, stopping when they realized their compatriot had not returned alone. After filling the other workers in on who Zeke was and what was going on with the mission, one of them asked him, "Which hospital?" Zeke thought for a moment. "It's Pabor something?" "Paborabal?" one asked. "No, that's not it." "Porablorial?" another asked. No. "Probiraporo?" Abref asked. "That's the one!" They talked among themselves in their language before Abref tapped him on the shoulder. "Yes?" "Would you help us deliver some food to Probiraporo?" she asked. "How will you get it?" "There." "Do you have gas masks?" Abref pointed at a cart loaded with produce. "You grab that one. The farms all have delivery shafts to the nearest markets and hospitals." Zeke pushed the cart, following the workers and the 6 carts they pushed. "I meant to find out where the power for the hospital is generated. The power's out a short distance away." "We turned off the power there," Abref said. 1 of the filters failed, and it was pulling the poison into the Undercity. "Oh, how long can we expect the power to stay on here?" "Without regular maintenance, probably 60 or 70 local orbits." They pushed the carts into an open-sided lift that started to rise. "That's good to know," Zeke said, "since they say they'll have the air clean within the next 2 orbits, and people can start coming home." "Won't the Gurgrins just attack again?" she asked as the floor of the receiving bay opened above them. "We won't let them." The man that answered her question relaxed, dropping the aim of the rifle he'd had pointed at the lift. "We're glad to see there's still survivors." "Abref, this is Clint. He's the head of security for the mission." Zeke gestured to the others with him. "Clint, Abref and the others are from a farm beneath the city. I'll alert the other missions to keep a lookout for more survivors in the farms," Clint said. "You said you won't let them attack again." "How can you stop them?" Abref asked. "Major Clint Collins, Sol Federation Forces, here with the Interstellar Trade Union Peacekeeping Task Force." He moved to grab one of the carts. "The task force, along with Sol Military, is chasing down the remaining Gurgron fleets. Their homeworld is already in a blockade until they unilaterally disarm." "Why would you do that?" Abref cocked her head. "We aren't even members of the Union yet." But you've applied and there are already trade deals in the making." Clint pushed the cart toward the kitchens. "That's close enough as to make no difference." As they unloaded the carts in the kitchen, Abref paused and looked at Zeke. "I understand why the Major's here, military orders and all, but what about the rest of you?" "Well, my mother's a doctor, so she's here to do that. And my older sister is an atmospheric pilot with the ITU Disaster Relief Association." "And you?" she asked. "I'm only 15, and I graduated 2 years early. I'm too young to be allowed to be on my own for an entire year, and it was either take a gap year here with my mom before university or start right away with a state-appointed guardian. You're not an adult yet, and you chose to do something." "So dangerous?" Zeke shrugged. "It's not the worst thing ever, getting to spend time with my sister that I rarely see. Besides, I've been looking forward to my gap year since I was 7. Clint laughed. "Good kid. What are you planning on going to school for?" "I still haven't decided." Zeke began emptying the next cart. "That's what a gap year is for, yeah? Enjoy another next amazing story." The bed I lay on was comfortable enough, but not plush. The walls were a pale blue with no windows. An IV ran into my arm, and a tangle of cables connected me to a device that quietly monitored my vitals. There was a white corridor outside the open door. The closed door on the wall opposite my head had a toilet sign. Hospital. I sat up, putting my feet on the floor. I felt weak. At first, I wasn't sure I was feeling it, but a faint thrum carried through the floor. Deck, my mind, corrected. Hospital ship. I'd no sooner deduced that than a nurse, or what I assumed was a nurse, walked in. She was short, no more than 150 centimeters, covered in a fine taupe fur with delicate limbs and graceful fingers. Large eyes set aside her head gave her a field of vision far beyond 180 degrees. A striped tail swished behind her as she walked, and she put on a smile that could melt the coldest of hearts. Something about her felt familiar. "You mustn't try to get up yet." Her voice was somewhere between a purr and a growl. One of her eyes focused on me while the other seemed to be watching the device. "I'm Joxy, the night nurse. Now that you're awake, the The doctor and physical therapist will be in to go over your next steps. Little joke for you. People of her species were called Gorchian, but called themselves Anushi, in the same way we call ourselves human, but others call us Earthian. I wasn't sure how I knew that. I just did. Just like I knew that this ship was a human design. My voice was weak and raspy, and it took far too much energy to make a simple inquiry. You, Anushi, ship, human? Exactly. She helped me get my legs back on the bed and tucked me back in. How? I didn't have the energy to get the words out. How did I end up here? What happened? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I knew. I am human. I am a man. I think. My right hand went by instinct to my chest where I traced scars on both sides with a patch of hair between. I am a man. I am a human. My name is... I don't know. My job is... I worked in a pizza place in high school. Memories newer. Then that elude me. I try to get the nurse's attention before she leaves. Even with her back turned to me, she sees the slight raise of my hand and turns back around. I can't... I point at my head. Who am I? I'll let the doctor explain, but it'll come back to you, Mr. Jacobs. She left without another word. Jacobs, I wondered. Is that right? It felt familiar, but something felt off. Something missing. The doctor entered. Her uniform designated her as a captain in the United Federation of Sol Navy, equivalent to a colonel in the other services. I considered that I might have been in the military with how easily I picked that up. Ma'am, I said with as much gusto as I could muster, which wasn't much at all. It's good to see you awake, she said. Can you tell me your name, rank, and serial number? No, ma'am. I know some things, like I'm human. The nurse is Anushi. This is a human hospital ship, and you're a Navy captain. Same rank as a ground pounder colonel, but I don't know how I know them. She said my name is Jacobs, but I'm not sure. The doctor wrote some things on her pad, then looked up at me. Your name is Ryan Jacobs, you're a corporal, at the moment, in the UFS Marine Corps, and you've been in a coma for 43 days. We're still a month out from home, but when we get there, you've got an award, a promotion, and an early retirement waiting. I'm Dr. Wells, and I'm the primary physician on your case. You suffered some serious head trauma along with your arm, she said, nodding toward my left hand. I flexed my left hand. It felt half numb. I looked at it, or tried to. It wasn't there. My arm stopped at a bandage just past my elbow. Where? How had I not noticed? How bad did I mess my head up? What had happened to me? We found that replaying your helmet cam footage can help bring back memories faster. She looked grim. It's not pretty, it's likely to be traumatizing, but it can help. Do you want to try? I do. Yes, ma'am, Captain Wells. You don't have to be formal here, Ryan. You can just call me Doc. Thanks, Doc. How soon can I? Tomorrow morning. You need a good night of non-comatose sleep first. I nodded and let my head rest back on the pillow. After she left, I watched the hallway for a bit. Mostly humans in Navy uniforms, but at least 10% of the traffic were Anushis in civilian clothes. Something about that caused an ache in my chest. Exhaustion overtook me and I let it, before the ache could become sobbing. It didn't help. My own weeping woke me in the morning. A pair of warm hands held my right hand. A comfort when I didn't. No, I needed it. I turned to see a rough-and-tumble-looking petty officer. Tears pooled in his dark brown eyes. You're not alone, he said. Sarah followed the trail. Droplets of what she was certain was blood. Something small, she guessed. If it turned out to be somebody with a little cut or bloody nose walking slow, she'd be embarrassed. But that wasn't likely. The trail led into an upturned cardboard box at the end of the alley. There was half of a strange footprint, paw print really, on the flap of the cardboard that lay outside the box. She couldn't identify it. Not dog or cat or rat or raccoon or opossum. Sarah waited for a minute, listening for sounds of life from the box. She heard a small rustle in the box. I'm not going to hurt you, she said in a soft voice. I'm just going to sit here and share my cupcake with you. She found the least nasty spot on the ground near the box to sit with her back to it. It would stain her jeans, but they were washable and, at worst, replaceable. Humming a soft lullaby, she pulled a small bite off the oversized cupcake and put it on the flap of the box. "I'll share with you since I can't eat one of these by myself," she sang. From the corner of her eye, she saw a furred hand reach out to snatch back the piece of cupcake. Maybe it was a raccoon with a deformed foot? She continued to hum and put another piece on the edge of the box. With each one, she put the piece closer to herself. When the little thing's legs weren't long enough to reach it, it stretched itself out of the box to grab the bite before retreating. Each time, the delay between grabbing and retreating grew in tiny increments. What she saw wasn't any animal she could identify. It looked a bit like a long-legged ferret the color of an orange tabby cat with a puffy tail and almost monkey-like hands. She held a piece of the cupcake out for the creature, hoping it wouldn't switch to biting and nip her fingers. Instead, the tiny hand grabbed it, and she could feel how it had opposable thumbs on both sides of its hand. One of the 3 fingers rested on her thumb before it took the piece. Sarah put a piece on her palm and laid her hand on the ground. The creature stepped up and grabbed her thumb with one of its hands, while the other took the proffered cake. Instead of backing off, it ate the piece with the needle-like teeth in its short snout, then held the empty hand open, palm up, 6 digits, 2 of them opposable, and a palm that reminded her of a toddler's hand, with none of the small lines that hands acquire over time. She set a piece of frosting on the outstretched hand. The creature was visibly frightened, but warming up to her. It stood on its hind legs and took a wobbly step toward her before stumbling. Sarah wasn't thinking about maintaining the calm at the moment her instincts took over. She caught the falling creature and scooped it into her lap. "Are you okay, little one?" Its fur was silken and softer than anything she'd felt. Its humab was damp despite the lack of rain for days. It stiffened for a moment. Sarah thought she'd just messed up and the little critter would run away to never trust her again. Her fears were unfounded, however, as the creature relaxed, grabbing her shirt with 3 of its monkey-handed feet. The 4th had a cut on the palm. "Oh, you poor baby. That must hurt. Will you let me take care of you?" The creature turned its large brown eyes to hers. When she looked into them, she could tell there was intelligence behind them. The creature curled its tail over itself like a blanket, and she felt its racing heart slow and its breathing relax. It still had a death grip on her shirt but was sound asleep. She rose to her feet as smoothly as she could, trying not to jostle the sleeping creature. It had a faint scent of cinnamon she'd first assumed was something her clothes had picked up in the bakery. By the time she reached her apartment, she'd figured out that she didn't need to be so careful. Cream, as she began calling the critter, was dead to the world. The poor thing was probably exhausted from fear, cold, and hunger. In its sleep, the creature suckled on her shirt. "You're not completely weaned, are you, little one?" she cooed. Once in her apartment, she dug through the stuffed drawer in the kitchen to find the puppy bottles and nipples she'd once used for fostering. From a lower cupboard, she pulled out an unopened can of puppy formula powder. Sarah got a bottle of formula ready just in time as Cream woke with a weak, high-pitched cry. The cry was punctuated with what sounded like baby talk, just not in English. The word-like sounds most repeated were geh and lulu. It took a few tries, but Sarah got Cream to latch on. The puppy formula seemed to be a big hit. She cooed at the little creature as she cradled it like a baby. As it drank, it finally relaxed its grip on her shirt and settled into the crook of her arm. Cream started to drift off again and dribbled some milk. Sarah pulled the bottle away and wiped. At the little face, Cream reached for the bottle. "Lulu, Lulu!" Sarah held the bottle. "Lulu? Milk?" She gave it back to Cream, who held onto it with 3 hands and made soft coos while drinking. After the furry child emptied the bottle and fell into a boneless sleep, Sarah pulled the first aid kit from the drawer of the coffee table beside her. She cleaned the wound on Cream's paw with a cotton ball. Cream's eyes opened. "I'm sorry, Cream. I'm sorry, little guy." Sarah decided that the creature, whether female or male, was a little guy. "Sarah's here. I'll take care of you. You're going to be okay." Cream grabbed Sarah's sleeve and babbled some, ending with, "Sarah." "Yes, Cream. I'm Sarah." She placed the smallest band-aid she had over the wound and gave it a little kiss. "All done." Cream crawled up to grab Sarah's shirt again, laid its head on Sarah's chest, and cried. "Gay, gay, 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 Sarah." Sarah rocked the poor creature back to sleep. Rather than risking waking the sleeping Cream, she lay on her bed without undressing. A few hours later, she woke with the crying creature begging again for Lulu. She prepared a new bottle and fed the hungry, tired creature and rocked it back to sleep. The armchair was comfortable enough, and Sarah drifted off herself. The sound of something scrabbling at her window woke her. She turned on the lamp to see a larger version of Cream standing on the flower box outside the third-story window. It looked like an adult version of Cream, wearing a utility belt around a baggy jumpsuit, out of the back of which a tail at least 3 times fluffier than Cream's twitched. Cream woke and screamed out, "Gege, Gege, Sarah, Gege, Sarah," opened the window, and the creature stepped in. Despite the obvious terror in its eyes, the concern for the child was obvious as well. "Oh, is Gege your mama?" Sarah asked. She sat down on the floor to put herself on eye level with the standing creature, and Cream climbed down and into the arms of the waiting creature. Dren! The creature dressed the child in a similar garment to its own. It held the child and pressed a button on a box on the belt. The creature's voice was high and was repeated from the box in English. "Where did you find my child?" "I followed a trail of blood droplets and found this poor little guy hiding in a box in an alley." "You didn't eat him?" the creature said through the translator. "Eat what? Why would I do that?" Cream began babbling again, and the translator picked up parts of it. Sarah recognized the sound log geh-geh behind the translation of Mama and Lulu behind Yummy. "Mama, Mama, Sarah, ouch." He held up his bandaged foot for her inspection. "Yummy, Sarah. You tended his wound and fed him?" "Of course. I wasn't going to let the little guy suffer." Sarah leaned back. "Why would you think I would eat him? I've studied how you eat other creatures. You are eaters of meat. You also keep companion animals that are eaters of meat, some of which will kill animals for you and bring them to you." As she started to relax, Cream let go of her and returned to Sarah to sit in her lap. She stiffened for a moment, then relaxed again as Sarah cooed at the child. "No one could eat you," she said. "You're too cute. Besides, it's not like we just eat any meat. We've been breeding animals for thousands of years to get the temperament and meat or milk quality we want. As far as animals hunting for or with us, yeah, in some places that still happens. But if you're talking about cats, they do that because they think they're helping somehow." The creature walked closer, staying in its upright posture. Sarah noticed what looked like tough gloves on the hand feet it walked on. "I am Rusna, and my boy is Drain." "Nice to meet you, Rusna." "And you, Dren." "I'm Sarah, and I've been calling him Cream since he's the color of a creamsicle cat." Sarah stroked the top of Dren's head, and he snuggled for a few more seconds before rushing back to his mother. "Would you like something to eat?" Sarah asked. "Or drink?" "Not meat," Rusna said, "but yes. I am hungry and fond of the drink you call tea." Sarah made tea for both of them and brought it out with a package of cookies. They ate and sipped their tea in silence for a few minutes, while Dren drifted back off to sleep. "I was warned not to come here because of the danger from humans and their companion animals," Rusna said. "Why did you then?" "I'm a xenosociologist. I'm here to find out everything I can about human society. I brought Dren along because I couldn't be apart from him for so long. I'd just given him a bath and turned to get a fresh towel and he ran off." Sarah chuckled. "Sounds like your children aren't that different from our own." "Where are you from?" "You can't see our star from here without a telescope," Rusna said, "but it's toward the galactic center. Did you and Dren come alone?" "No. There are 34 on our expedition now." Her gaze dropped and she sniffed at Dren's head. "We lost 3 to illness and accident in the first 13 planetary rotations, but have maintained our number since then." "I'm sorry," Sarah said. Rusna took another sip of her tea. "We'll survive. I'll have to adjust some of my starting assumptions about the behavior of societies of omnivores, though." "Aren't there others?" Sarah asked. "None. Besides yours that show promise to become spacebound. Well, if you're around for a while, you're welcome to visit any time." Sarah smiled at the sleeping child clinging to his mother's jumpsuit. "I'd love to see the little guy again. Thanks for diving into this story with me. Don't miss out on the next one. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think.